150. So everybody's aware. We will get you in if you wish to speak. If there's members outside, we will bring them in so that they have an opportunity to speak as well. But we do have a fire marshal limit of 150 in this meeting space. All right. Well, we can't hear you. Can you speak up possibly? Working on that. Can we get over the speakers for the people in the hallway? Do we have? If we can't hear you, there's no point in talking if we can't hear you. We have technical. We're working on that. For
Get that taken care of first, please.
There is a speaker or a microphone at the podium. Can you stand at the podium then, please?
Pass it around then.
For a tactile sport.
And it looks like we're moving a speaker, so we'll pause for a moment.
Unfortunately, if we did, to accommodate the ones on Zoom, if we had an extra mic that really projected out there, that's when we got that reverb from the past meeting. So for in here, it's almost, we have to choose.
You don't have audio on Zoom, by the way, either. Been notified by several people already.
We can hear it out there.
Wait.
No, Zoom's,
Microphone.
I just got it.
We can't hear you.
Apparently that doesn't work either.
Excuse me, they're working on it. Give them a minute, please.
Speak loud.
Zoom is working. Just confirm that.
Yep, he said he's doing now.
See? Yeah, we're working on the speaker out for that one, so the remote audio can be projected out there. And here we will just have to really speak up.
The audio is being projected out in the annex along here. In order to accommodate the Zoom meeting, you'll have to speak louder. You can already hear the reverb from the Zoom meeting and the speakers. There is a speaker at the podium. It will go on to Zoom audio that way as well as you should be able to hear everything here.
And that reverb is going to be. No way we can hear it. We can't.
Matt, is there any way to get that reverb to stop?
Closing doors is the best way. Speaker is so close to this. It's just.
Or should we do that?
It's loud. If you close that door, yes.
those who signed up and wish to make comments in person. We will then move to the Zoom format for those online that wish to make public comments via Zoom. So the first person I have on my list is Rick Davidson. If you'd like to step to the podium, you have 3 minutes. It will be timed. We ask you to respect that time because obviously we have a lot of people that want to talk today. And 3 minutes is already put up. So very long. Go ahead.
So I'm Rick Davidson. I have 2 boys that help rep the school district, which is why I'm here. They're 10 and 12. And first off, I just want to say that to the commissioners that are opposed to the mandate of them wearing masks, we support you. I support you. There's a lot of people here that support you, probably more than you realize support you. My kids are very healthy. They're good kids. They're 4.0 students. We've never had to deal with any, I guess, health issues until the mask mandates came up. The complaints of just headaches and whatnot. Just my example is I went on a field trip with my 4th grade son last year to the tall ships by the bay. If anybody's ever done that, it was an 80-degree day. It was super hot. I had to wear a mask with them because it was what they required. And it was the first time I've had to do that. And basically, when I went 4 hours later, I had a massive headache. And I looked at my son and I'm like, is this what you guys go through every day? He goes, yeah, Dad, this is what we go through every day. So we ask you to give us the choice for our kids, for what's best for them, and not requiring them to wear masks every day at school. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Is that microphone?
I hear echoing out there, can't hear anything.
Unfortunately, when we have a speaker in here, it reverbs on Zoom. We cannot allow for the Zoom.
Sure, but they still have a speaker in here. Why can't you have a speaker in here?
Just get a single.
He can't hear. When you guys shut those doors, maybe they'll stop it.
This is a public meeting. We cannot shut the door.
People are big people. They can open up doors. We're just shutting it for the echo.
I didn't know I was speaking today, so I got no speech, nothing prepared. All I am is the dad of a 6-year-old who was supposed to start her first day of 1st grade today, and she's at home because the end of last school year she got diagnosed with ocular migraines, and because we can't prove that it was because of the mask, I can't get a doctor's note, so I'm just not sending her. Unfortunately, she's went the past, well, fortunately, she's went the past 3 months on summer vacation, not wearing a mask, no migraines, no headaches, no blurry vision, no spots. And maybe a coincidence, maybe not, but I just feel that that should be my choice. Nobody else is to send her to school without a mask, and she should be able to do that. Thank you.
Limit your applause. I understand there's support on both sides, but we do have quite a few people that would like to speak today. And we need to
Next,
Stop taking time to talk on Zoom.
Wow, what an authoritarian.
my job is to run the meeting. So, Mike Way is the next person on the list, please.
Face us.
I'd like to ask if I could, I represent a group of about 17 speakers that are prepared to speak in order. And it would be possible that we could speak in order. I'm speaker 13 of that. Would it be possible for us to speak in order?
I'm going by the order that was signed in today for public comment. And we don't have a problem.
All right, my name is Mike Way, and I live in Charlevoix County. As a school bus driver, I can tell you by firsthand experience the practicality of masking these kids will not work. Most people simply do not wear masks properly, especially children. The masks they bring from home and the ones given at school are not effective, nor do they fit properly in most cases. I've seen students' masks totally saturated with saliva and snot flowing from both barrels of the nose. Masks are worn over and over, chewed on, draped around their necks, dropped on the floor, stepped on, and then put back on their faces. These dirty masks are not changed regularly with clean ones and end up being a repository of bacterial and viral contamination. The children end up fiddling with their masks and touching their faces more because of this unnatural covering. How can this be safe or effective? If anything, forcing children to wear wet, contaminated masks increase the spread of disease. Everything you're going to hear today will say that it's safer to allow our children to be children and give them vitamin D3, zinc, other vitamins, and good nutrition, and allow their natural immunity to do its job to protect them. Let's not take the fun and the freedoms from them that we all enjoy because of this unfounded fear that really isn't applicable to this age group. In addition to the negative health aspects, my wife is a paraprofessional working with special needs in the Charlotte schools. She has said it is virtually impossible for them to wear a mask and communicate and learn. Without being able to see facial expressions, a large aspect of communication is lost. As a result, many students are struggling to keep up in their schoolwork and social interactions. As educated adults, how can we reasonably and responsibly apply this burden on our children when they need more from us? They deserve our best efforts to care for them and protect them. This undoable mandate is not only impossible to carry out, it is harmful for the short-term and long-term health and well-being of our children.
I'm responding to point 4 in your order, the order that you wrote, where you said the coronavirus is respiratory. We agree with your statement. However, the only way to prevent this is by complete isolation or by death itself. We all breathe in and out all the time. To make the assumption that a cloth or surgical mask could prevent the spread of a virus is completely misleading. The size of a single SARS-CoV-2 virus particle is 0.1 microns. The pore size of a surgical mask is 200 to 1,000 times greater in size. A good comparison is like trying to use a chain link fence to stop a mosquito from entering your backyard. We've all heard that, right? And it's true. Children do not wear masks properly. Have you seen them? They touch them. They remove the mask to place the mask on contaminated surfaces. Going to the restroom, I can only imagine what occurs in there. These masks quickly become moist with bodily substances such as saliva, mucus, and food particles, and other things. These substances contaminate the mask. The masks become a breeding ground for bacteria and viruses. This potentially increases the risk of transmission of COVID-19. Children do not wear masks properly. To charge them with the responsibility of keeping a mask free from contamination for 8 hours a day, plus during sports, is completely unethical. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Hello, my name is Erica Van Dam, and I live and work in Boyne City. My husband and I own and operate 3 companies over in Boyne City. If there's one thing we can all agree on, is that the past 18 months have been challenging for businesses, both big and small. We have navigated our way through the pandemic, but now we're dealing with labor shortages, supply chain delays, and inflation, an environment where a booming economy is mixing with continued threats of COVID illness. How this plays out on a day-to-day basis is that we need every single employee present and able to work to be able to meet sales demands. It would normally be viewed as a good and positive challenge, but we're in a situation, as most business owners we know are, where if we're just short one employee, we are communicating delays to customers, not meeting deadlines, and getting further behind. We and every single business owner I know are extremely thankful for the support and supportive of the public health order issued on the 27th. As a community, we have an opportunity to use every single tool at our disposal to further prevent the spread of COVID-19. We have social distancing, masking, widely available testing, and most importantly, a vaccine supply that can serve our whole community. We need to be using every single tool we have to further prevent spread. It keeps kids in school learning where they need to be, and it keeps employees working and businesses open. If we do not use every tool available to us, we are contributing to the problem, not the solution. We are smarter than this. We cannot risk further shutdowns, remote learning, absent employees, and the worst possible outcome, outbreaks of COVID-19. I applaud the leadership of the health department for making decisions based on fact, logic, and reason. I want to also share that I'm the proud mother of a new kindergartner this year. Do you want to know what my #1 fear for her this year is? It's not bullying. It's not that she'll fall behind. It's that we're risking exposure to COVID-19 by sending her to a classroom with 22 other children in a school with about 500 other students. You see, I wouldn't feel as scared if she were old enough to be vaccinated, but she's only 5, and we don't have that opportunity yet. Vaccinated individuals are up to 94% less likely to be hospitalized due to COVID-19. That's not based on a Facebook post. That is not based on a Facebook post. That is not based on a friend saying something at a barbecue. That is based on a CDC study. But what does that mean for our children who can't be vaccinated, entering a school full of hundreds of children who potentially are not wearing masks? What if she became a statistic, like the 47 kids who died in the last 2 weeks of August in the United States? What if all this happened because the health department didn't do what they were hired to do, to be the experts, and ultimately put measures in place to prevent disease? But luckily, our health department didn't do that. I am beyond grateful for our health department for taking this impossible decision-making out of the hands of our superintendents. Deciding a complicated and controversial health-based decision is not what they were hired to do. To close, there's no doubt that these are difficult and stressful times, but the reason why you were elected to represent our communities is to be a voice of If you don't support the mask mandate, then I ask you, whose interests are you serving?
There is a timer. There is somebody taking time. We ask that you please be respectful of all speakers. You want an opportunity, so today, interrupting is just going to delay the process. So if you want that thing respect, I ask that you display it to others, please. Next item, next person, Dale Henderson. Dale Henderson. Thank you.
Dale Henderson, I live in Warren City. I'm addressing point 11A. Ms. Peacock, I'd like to address the false and misleading claims regarding the efficacy of masks and the safety of the experimental vaccines to prevent transmission. The mandate states the most effective way to prevent transmission in schools is to support your community being vaccinated. That's false. The CDC data proves that the recovery rate of SARS-CoV-2 is 99.8% or better in children up to age 16. Those over the age of 70 have a 94.6 recovery. The recovery rate of 99.8 in children and young adults makes the COVID-19 vaccines unnecessary to prevent transmission. Clearly, natural herd immunity is the most effective way to mitigate this virus in our community. The benefit does not outweigh the risk in this case. You have to look at other sources outside of what's going on in America with our media. The Israel you can look to. It's the most highly vaccinated country with 90% of the population vaccinated. Mr. Anthony Fauci has been proven wrong once again. After telling Americans that vaccines offer better protection than natural infection, a news story out of Israel suggests the opposite. Natural infection offers a much better shield against the Delta variant than vaccines. Bloomberg describes this study as the largest real-world analysis comparing natural immunity gained from earlier infections to the protection provided by one of the most potent vaccines currently in use. The study showed that the vaccinated were ultimately 13 times as likely to be infected as those who were infected previously with the real disease. They're also 27 times more likely to be symptomatic, explaining the sudden surge when it's not the season. This includes the dreaded Delta variant. Science magazine states people who were vaccinated in January and February were in June, July, and the first half of August 13 times more likely to get infected than the unvaccinated who were previously infected with COVID, having natural immunity. Former FDA Commissioner and Pfizer board member Scott Gottlieb noted that natural immunity gained from prior COVID-19 infection needs to be included in discussions about policies and mandates. The balance of the evidence demonstrates that natural immunity confers a durable protection. He goes on to state that prior infection of COVID-19 infection confers much more protection against the virus than any vaccine. Again, FDA Commissioner, Pfizer board member. This leaves little doubt that natural immunity is a better option for protection from the Delta variant, proving your fear mongering statement.
Raymond Dyer, got a couple of things for voice of the school district. Your health order states that available evidence continues to demonstrate the existing recommendations to prevent the SARS-CoV-2 transmission remain effective. These include physical distancing, community use of well-fitting masks, adequate ventilation, and avoidance of crowded indoor spaces. These measures will reduce transmission both from inhalation of the virus and deposition of the virus on exposed mucous membranes. First of all, what entails a well-fitted mask? In order for a mask to be effective in a medical application, each mask must be specifically fitted to the wearer's facial features. Will the health department provide MyOSHA-trained PPC specialists to ensure that each school and each child has a properly fitted mask? Which, by the way, ought to be changed every 20 minutes to reduce the child's exposure to congestion of bacteria and virus particles in the face mask. These face masks will increase expense to students' parents. Health department ought to provide these masks. Furthermore, it's interesting to note adequate ventilation is a requisite for the avoidance of the spread of COVID-19, directly following the requisite of a well-fitted mask, which limits one's adequate ventilation. However, ventilation references indoor air quality and requires each school to provide adequate ventilation. What would this entail? A few open windows? How could this be possible in northern Michigan winters? The only effective way to mitigate transmission of this virus by air filtration would be to install hospital-grade HVAC systems, such as positive and negative pressure classrooms. Is the health department prepared to provide the financial means to secure these air filtration systems? Department health, is the health department prepared? And how could this be implemented in such a short frame of time for use in the school year? As for avoiding crowded indoor spaces, what would be the definition of a crowded indoor space? I've never observed a crowded classroom in northern Michigan compared to the classroom I myself have been in down in Detroit. If school students and their parents are expected to follow these sloppy guidelines to provide no substantial security or practical applicability, why should we even trust these guidelines to protect our children's well-being?
First, I'd like to thank the board, all the commissioners, the health officer, and the chairwoman for the opportunity to present my case. I'm a safety and occupational health specialist. That's my job. I've been tracking the statistics and the data for this virus since its inception, back in the fall of 2020. I've been vaccinated. I've tracked the virus. I don't see the risk or the imminent danger to our children. I see the numbers every day. I know the hospitalization rates. I've been asking for the justification for this decision after every single school board had convened and made their decision. There was a decision from this board to supersede those decisions. I think that those educators and those board members are educated and knowledgeable enough to make an appropriate assessment for the safety of our children within their individual school districts. I don't see the need for superseding those orders from this board. That's all I wanted to present to the commissioners today, and I would ask that they reconsider withdrawing this order and rescinding this order and allow us to have the freedom to parent our children and make decisions for our children ourselves. Thank you.
My name is Judith Hindle. I'm a registered nurse from Charlevoix County. Ms. Peacock, you state that the most effective way to prevent transmission in schools is to support your community being vaccinated. While I believe vaccines should always be a choice, it should be a choice, a well-researched choice, I should say. The truth about the vaccine being promoted as safe and effective is considered gene therapy. It was only given experimental use authorization. The recent approval was a sleight of hand meant to deceive. The EUA was simply extended. The EUA is only given if there is no other therapeutic available, which there are. Ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, and several others. These have been censored and suppressed by the government, the FDA, and the media. The emergency use does not make the vaccine safe or effective for humans. This simply means the government, the FDA, are using humans as their clinical test trial without the consent or knowledge. When participating in a clinical trial, the participants must be informed and have informed consent. People are not being educated regarding the truth of this experimental trial. Drug makers clearly state that clinical trials will not be complete until 2023. If clinical trials are ongoing, who are the test subjects? Why is this experimental injection being given to the masses if the trial has not been completed, will not be complete for 3 years? This action by our government officials and the FDA is in violation of the Nuremberg Code. I quote number 1 of the Nuremberg Code. Exercise free power of choice without intervention of any element of force, fraud, deceit, duress, overreaching, or other ulterior forms of constraint or coercion. Clearly, no one can mandate this experimental injection. It can only be given with consent and full disclosure of the ingredients and side effects. Note the ivermectin insert right here fully tells you what's in this drug and all the side effects. And if you would note the Moderna insert that comes out of the box, it says intensely left blank. Where are the ingredients? Yes. Where is the ingredient list? Note the okay, I'm off my spot, I guess I say. As a nurse, I am instructed to do no harm. I was also responsible to have knowledge of the drug I'm administering, and anticipate any side effects that may occur. How is this possible if the ingredients of the drug we are administering is unknown? Nuremberg Code number 2 states that the experiment should be such as to yield fruitful results for the good of society, unprocurable by other means or method of study. It is well known that there are other means to mitigate the cure of the virus. I have previously mentioned 2 effective interventions, and there are several more. But first and foremost is the human immune system. A strong immune system is the best line of defense for much of the population. You cannot inject health. Preventive measures to strengthen our guidance immune system are available to all.
Hi, my name is William Hindle from Charlevoix County. As stated previously, natural infection offers a much better shield against the Delta virus than vaccines, stating that even if you had COVID-19, you are still susceptible to the virus is a blatant lie, as proven by the Israeli study as aforementioned. A study by the Mayo Clinic states natural infection provides more complete immunity than a series of vaccinations. As healthcare professionals appointed to protect our community, you should have some information on preventative and natural protocols. You should also fully understand the amazing and highly effective immune system of the human body. We must support our immune systems with proper nutrition, exercise, fresh air, and sunshine. Neither a mask nor vaccine can be used as a form of protection against viruses. They cannot and do not replace your immune system. Thousands of clinical trials and scientific data support and prove the use of hand hygiene, fresh air, pure water, sunshine, vitamin D, vitamin C, and zinc as preventing and lessening the symptoms of COVID-19 or any viruses for that matter. It is your job as health professionals to protect our community and teach the public about natural immunity and alternative preventative measures. If a child were to get SARS-CoV-19, the symptoms of the infection in the children are mild cold flu symptoms. These symptoms are far less threatening than the FDA's newest surveillance of COVID-19 vaccine side effects, which are Guillain-Barré syndrome, Travers myelitis, encephalitis, convulsions, seizures, stroke, narcolepsy, rapid severe allergic reaction or death, inflammation of the heart, autoimmune disease, negative pregnancy and birth outcomes, other acute scientific diseases, blood platelet disease, arthritis, joint pain, multi-system inflammatory syndrome in children. And recently, found this European Union database of suspected drug reactions is reported. The name of this is called Endurovigilance, and they are now reporting, this is in Europe, 23,252 fatalities from the vaccines and 2,189,537 injuries following COVID-19 injections. This is a risk we will not take. Our children will not be experimented on. Regardless of the true nature of this experimental injection, vaccines will remain a choice, along with masks, stated on the Bill of Rights and the Nuremberg Code.
Greg Bentley, Charlevoix County. I'm addressing item 1 of your health order. Nurse Peacock, in your health order, you clearly announce your allegiance to the CDC. We, the people, declare our allegiance to the Constitution of the United States of America. The right to breathe. We know you rubber stamped the health order that you got from Lansing, okay? We also know that's the same health department that was looking over the water quality in Flint, Michigan. We, the people, hold you personally responsible for signing this order. You live in our communities, okay? And you can't use the excuse you're just doing your job. Right. You proclaim preventative measures need to be dialed up. Is this the same language that you're using when you dial up the PCR test, when you spin the cycles over 35 that creates false positive? This is the same thing that Dr. Fauci said would happen, okay? Our friends and our family who work in the local hospitals, they'll disagree with you stating that their beds are filling up. You're creating not a pandemic, you're creating a case-demic. Is it possible that your body count is motivated by filthy lucre? Hospitals have been incentivized to receive money for COVID deaths, written on their death certificates. COVID patients that have an intubator put in get $39,000 delivered to the hospital. In a congressional subcommittee hearing in Congress, streamed live July 31st, 2020, Representative Luke DeMar challenged the then CDC Director, Dr. Robert Redfield. Redfield admitted to the perverse incentive for health officials to collect money for COVID deaths. A famous man once said, "For the love of money is the root of evil."
Amen.
Amen. I have filed the money. And amazingly, on the CDC website in 2019, the Health Department of Michigan received nearly $200 million. On that same website, it says in 2020, a 300% increase in funding to nearly $600 million. I challenge you, what are you doing with the money, Mrs. Peacock?
We demand to know.
I will ask to address the board, that is the public comment opportunity, and personal attacks are not part of that public comment. You have
You can ask questions.
to address the board, that is public comment. Purpose.
We deserve to know. She didn't ask the board.
Nathan Bentley.
Folks,
You're not speaking.
Nathan Bentley?
my name's Lisa Vogler. I'm the attorney for the health department in the Board of Health. This meeting is conducted under the Open Meeting Act. Part of the Open Meeting Act is that this meeting will continue as long as there is not a breach of peace. So please respect my comments. I do, sir, and everybody here, but we need to keep this meeting in order. And keeping this meeting in order means everyone respect everyone in this room. And that's part of the Constitution. So let's act accordingly and not yell out from the peanut gallery. Let's keep it.
My name is Carrie and I have raised 7 children. I'm here to issue item number 10 that states that there have been 490 pediatric deaths of COVID in the U.S. My own research indicates that the CDC reported 470 pediatric deaths aged 0 from 18 from January 4th, 2020 to January 1st, 2021. Using the CDC Wonder Search database, I was able to go back and look at 5 years of pediatric mortality involving the influenza and pneumonia, which has combined coding in the CDC system. This is what I found in the 5 years prior to COVID. According to the CDC data, more children died of the flu in any 12-month period in the last 5 years than have died of COVID-19 during the last 20 months. Again, the CDC has reported 470 children died of COVID-19 since the start of the pandemic, but 628 children died of the flu in 2019. 666 died of the flu in 2018, 598 in 2017. Why is the health department pushing such extreme control measures on the kids when COVID-19 is less deadly to the children than the seasonal flu? Has the seasonal flu simply been rebranded and hyped up as COVID-19? Interestingly, no statistics are available to the public in the CDC Wonder database beyond 2019. Something I was able to find, however, from the CDC that included 2020 was a chart showing influenza-associated pediatric mortality going back 4 years. Shockingly, it shows 1 adolescent death of influenza for the entire year of 2020. Should we be shaking in fear of COVID or celebrating in the streets that the seasonal flu has mysteriously disappeared? I also think that my 13-year-old son on day 3 of getting kicked out of school what our military fight for? Is this what they die for? And and I asked you guys, if my 13-year-old can understand what we send people overseas for, what they're giving their life for, why don't we as adults understand that? I also have a daughter who is leaving for the airborne infantry in 3 weeks. Why is she going if y'all are going to take away our rights?
Hi, my name's Herb Frisky from Petoskey, Michigan. And I have great objection to you, Mrs. Peacock, and you, Dr. Myerson. You dare order the American people? We order? Who do you work for? You work for me? Yes. Do I work for you? You don't have the strength understanding of what America's all about, Mr. and Mrs. We are the boss, not you. Yeah. You do not order us to do anything. You can suggest it, you might, but you do not order. Who in the world do you think you are? Right. God did not put you in charge of our children. He gave those children to us to raise. Right. And you better remember it. You care nothing about science either. Governor Whitmer, who's certainly no friend of ours, has indicated younger children are not major sources of transmission, either to their peers or to adults. But yet you take it upon yourself to put masks on our children. Let me give you a few facts. As of August 17th, only 19 children under the age of 19 died in Michigan, allegedly of COVID. Of those that died, most, if not all, had underlying conditions. So it's doubtful if any of them died of COVID. According to state data, last year 25 children died of poisoning, 62 died of choking, 90 died in car accidents. By your logic, we should ban everything that has poison in it. We ought to ban all food that they can choke on, and we certainly ought to ban all the automobiles. To top it off, 71 children committed suicide. That's nearly 4 times as many as died of COVID, allegedly. That's right. And the truth of the matter is, your stinking COVID mask mandates are probably the biggest contributing factor to a lot of those suicides. They indicate that every single child that died of COVID in 2020, another 57 died of other causes, such as accidents, fires, drownings, electrocutions, poisonings, chokings, car crashes, homicides, and suicide. Yet you have little concern for those concerns. You want to mandate masks to us who are totally worthless. You listen to the propaganda on the stinking television networks and idiot Dr. Fauci, and you hand down dictates to us, the people. That is disgusting. Yes!
Kieran, I can't hear you. There's no way. At least wait till the applause dies before you call the next name. That's good. We're going to be involved.
My name is Kelly Palmer. I'm a social worker from Otsego County. The concern your department noted in number 5 is the duration of exposure within shared space within the classroom. You are demanding masks to alleviate this concern. However, we know masks don't work. Even the CDC's data states the scientific evidence is mixed, as their most recent report glosses over many unanswered scientific questions. The CDC stated, I quote, evidence from 14 randomized controlled trials of these measures did not support a substantial effect of transmission, end quote. A 2019 guidance document provided by the World Health Organization reported about face masks, I quote, there is no evidence that this is effective in reducing transmission, end quote. Further, there was a study in Sweden regarding unmasked children 16 and under. Jonas Ludvigson studied 1.95 million school children who were not wearing masks at school. He reported the number of infections and hospitalizations was exceedingly low and 0 deaths. 0 out of almost 2 million children, even though there were no school-wide mask mandates. It sounds like these children actually did better without masks. See this cloth mask? This is the type of mask our children wear to school. The packages on these masks say that they do not protect against transmission of viruses. You know what it does? It stops goobers. Our schools have cleaning protocols to take care of that. Our schools have taken measures. They worked tirelessly to come up with a special plan. Gaylord School District had a well-thought-out plan accepted by everyone on both sides of the mask argument. It was a plan that would keep our children safe and respect our individual rights. If you were scared about your child and you wanted them in a mask, you get to be in a class that everyone's masked. So you don't have to be scared. We put that out, and this health department slapped us in the face. I'm asking that you do rescind this order, and please let our school district be able to go about the order, our plan that was so well put in place. And as far as these quarantines, this is just a little extra. I was speaking with the principal at Gaylord High School. These poor kids have been quarantined 2, 3, 4, even 5 times, repeatedly missing school for these quarantines. And do you know, out of the hundreds of quarantines, how many children that were quarantined actually came positive? 1. 1.
Next person, Dan Beer, I believe it's Beer from Charlevoix. There's Dan.
I think that's me.
Could you spell your last name? I'm sorry.
T-I-S-R-O-N. My name is Dan Tidron. I'm from Charlevoix County. Regarding point number 9, is the term asymptomatic really just another word for healthy? The CDC's PCR test used for COVID-19 since the beginning of the pandemic has had a stated cycle threshold cutoff of 40 cycles. Anthony Fauci said on July 16, 2020 in This Week in Virology that the PCR test is useless and misleading when the test is run at 35 cycles or higher. A positive result indicating infection cannot be accepted or believed above 35 cycles. Fauci went on to say that with a cycle threshold rate of 35 or more, the chances of a positive result identifying viable replication competent virus is minuscule. He said you can almost never culture a live virus from a 37 or even a 36 cycle threshold test. Why has the CDC been running the test with a 40 cycle threshold cutoff and not 35? All labs in the U.S. that followed CDC guidance with the PCR test have either knowingly or unknowingly participated in massively falsifying the number of total cases. It appears this fraudulent asymptomatic case-demic was designed to flag almost anyone as positive and is based entirely on amplifying instrument noise to the point of getting a positive hit. At higher cycle rates, almost any genetic material can be flagged as positive for COVID-19. The lockdowns, mask mandates, and stay-at-home measures have all been premised upon a year and a half of fraudulent PCR testing. This test has been misdiagnosing healthy people as sick for the last 20 months. Instead of admitting there's a problem with the test, this theory of asymptomatic spread developed to try and explain why so many people test positive with these fraudulent tests. Recently, the CDC quietly called for lowering the PCR cycle rate to 28 when testing the vaccinated for infection, but then quickly deleted the guidance when people caught on to the scam. Here is the original link that now takes you to a redirect page, and below that is a link for the Internet Archive document they tried to hide. This is all baloney.
Yeah.
It really is. I'll give you a copy of this is point number 9.
Excuse me, sir, that's how, I don't want it passed out to everyone.
Hey, why don't you quit muting the mic every time people clap around here? That's a little against the odds, isn't it, people? Is there a reason for that?
It's the automatic Zoom settings.
Yeah, whatever, shut it off.
Thanks for giving me the opportunity for us to speak today. Maggie Lacey, registered nurse out of Emmett County. I am going to address number 12, and I disagree with the statement of the universal masks in schools is safe, essential, and effective. There is clinical evidence that masks cause children more harm than good. What should be addressed with mask wearing is mask-induced exhaustion syndrome, MEIES. A study in the International Journal of Environmental Research and Public Health, published April 20th, 2021, did a comprehensive investigative address of health effects mask can cause. A total of 65 scientific papers presented clear evidence of psychological and physical deterioration as well as multiple symptoms of mask-induced exhaustion syndrome. And I've actually watched you all, because I am a nurse, and I can observe that you are experiencing it right now. Out of 65 scientific studies referred, over 67% of the time your O2 drops. Over 82% your CO2 increases, which induces your headache, respiratory impairment, and temperature rise. In every study, 100%, there is temperature rise and moisture under that mask. Not to mention an increase in heart rate, drowsiness, skin irritation, rhinitis, bacterial contamination, fungal contamination, and viral contamination. Most concerning being long-term consequences of neurological damage. In any case, the mask-induced exhaustion syndrome triggered by mask contrasts with the World Health Organization definition of health. Health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. In addition to protecting the health of our children, Public Health Department should base their actions and guiding principles of the 1948 Geneva Declaration that was revised in Chicago in 2017. According to this, the Public Health Department is tasked in putting the health and dignity of patients and children first and under threat, not to use medical knowledge to violate human rights and civil liberties. Within the framework of these findings, it's important to consider evidence-based medicine, which I provided for you today, and ethical guidelines versus the assumption-led claim and general effectiveness of the mask mandate. The children here should have a choice. Parents should have a choice. We all should have a choice. And looking at the vaccination of having a choice. Not presenting the clear evidence that everybody that is taking vaccination is under a study that is identified by the ICD-9 codes, the ICD-10 codes, of looking at the adverse events that was put together in October of 2020 before December 2020 when the vaccines were implemented. In each of those side effects, they have a window of risk and a window of safety. Your safety is not until 365 days, where your risk could be from 1 to 28 days to 1 to 45 days. That should be given to every person that's getting a vaccine.
4 to 5 remaining. We will address your concern at the end. Oh, thank you. Rob? Thank you.
Thank you for your time, and thank you for giving everyone the opportunity to come in here. Appreciate the passion. I don't think anybody ever thought we'd end up in this situation, but we're here. So I'll just get right to the point because I got limited time. And I don't mean any disrespect at all to those that have RN degrees or are medical doctors. I don't have those credentials, but I don't necessarily think that the people that are making this decision have the necessary credentials for it. Like I said, I don't have them. I have the credentials of, I think I have pretty good common sense, and I have the power of the Google machine. So I do a lot of research. I just try looking for data, just looking for numbers. I'm an engineer, so that's what I do. I try to analyze numbers. So we've got people that are not necessarily specialists in this, from what I can find, again, no disrespect, making the decisions. So some references that I think do sound like they have the credentials. Dr. Christina Parks, PhD in cellular and molecular biology from U of M. I'm a Sparty fan, but we'll leave that alone. She argues masks increase carbon dioxide in the body, contributing to risks for cancer, hypertension, as well as other health conditions. I think that's her specialty. Jamie Clark and Kristen Megan have almost 40 years of combined experience as OSHA certified PPE experts. They're the ones that teach doctors and medical staff how to use PPE the proper way. They argue these are not going to work. Masks and ventilators offer no protection against respiratory viruses, and they are downright dangerous for many reasons. Another gentleman, Jim Meehan, a surgeon who has performed over 10,000 procedures wearing a surgical mask, explained that his environment is different than our children's environment, our environment. It's a room designed specifically for people that are wearing masks and having these depletions, okay? So, and even with that, they wear them for a limited time. They have very specific an environment, and even they have studies that show negative effects of those masks on the surgeon's physiology and performance. So I looked for a study on students, and look, there's one, 25,000 school-aged children study that shows that it's harming them physically, psychologically, and behaviorally. Health issues observed in the study were found to affect 68% of masked children who had to wear a face covering for an average of 4.5 hours a day. Some of the results include increased headaches, difficulty concentrating, drowsiness and fatigue, malaise. Nearly a third of children experience more sleep issues, a quarter of them develop new fears. The study also found that almost 30% of them experienced shortness of breath, 26% experienced dizziness, and hundreds of the participants experienced accelerated respiration, tightness in chest, weakness, and short-term impairment of consciousness. I've yet to find a true scientific study that proves masks are effective for our children. With control groups, there's way too many variables that are in the mix, okay? So, real quick, I want to appreciate people that come in on the other side. I know they're walking into the lion's den. Kudos to you for standing up for what you believe in. I will never look down on anybody for that. I just think this mandate should be out of place, and I would expect the board members not wearing masks to vote to rescind the mandate.
Along with this, I wasn't sure if I was going to get called or not, but I've got some prepared notes. It was 4 minutes, so I'm going to fire through those. I'm going to offer a slightly different perspective on what's being shared today. I've studied personal leadership development facilitated programs for the last 14 years, and one of the core foundations of that training has always been individual core values. And I really think that's what is at the core of all of our passion here today, everything that we're here to represent for our kids, for our schools, and for our communities. Core values like faith, family, health, respect, trustworthiness, love, honesty, responsibility, life, knowledge, accountability, and compassion, just to name a few, are driving the passion here today. The funny thing is, many of these core values can actually be shared by people on polar opposite ends of any issue. Specifically this morning, many feel that the issue of the mask mandate that was ordered in the 11th hour is truly, I mean, not words to describe. People who value life, family, and health can be found both in favor of and against this mandate, and each person is able to passionately share their position. Personally, I believe that this boils down to a matter of trustworthiness. That's what I want to focus on for a minute, and on several levels. When facts about masks are proven to be false, it erodes trustworthiness. When we are asked to place our faith in a mask that also is proven to do more harm than good, it further erodes that trustworthiness. Both in the mask as well as the leaders that are recommending us and mandating us to wear them. And again, specific to the issue that gathers us here today, the trustworthiness has hit rock bottom. You see, we in our respective communities elected trustworthy citizens to represent us as school board members. Those folks, in concert with our school superintendents, each made educated decisions to begin their school year placing the trust in the parents to make the best decisions for the health of their kids and the kids in our community, mask or no mask. They also placed a certain level of trust in you in that meeting where they shared their back-to-school protocol plan. And I can't speak for the superintendents or the school board members, but I'd have to imagine that there's a certain level of trust in you that is gone, or at least greatly diminished, when you summarily disregarded the trust that was placed in them by their communities. That further erodes the trust, and this is the timing of being done.
Throughout their lives, there's been one constant source of guidance for my children, and that has been their father and me. None of you. None of you were in the hospital holding my hand as I gave birth to my children. None of you spent hours breastfeeding them to ensure they got the best possible start in life. None of you read them bedtime stories every night. None of you have kissed their skinned-up knees when they fell. None of you stayed up with them when they were sick, but I did. I fed them, I kissed their scrapes, I comforted them when they weren't feeling well. I decided when they needed to be seen by a doctor. Excuse me. I made the decision on when to keep them home from school due to sickness. None of you did. I've spent their entire lives protecting them, doing everything in my power to ensure they grow up happy and healthy. So far, I've had great success. Happy and healthy are exactly what they are. So please try to understand the anger I feel, thinking anyone but me should be able to decide if my healthy children need to be masked for 8 hours every day at school. Take yourself away from being a board member and just be mom and dad. Use your empathetic thought process and ask yourself this. How would you feel if a stranger was telling you what's best for your child? I refuse to allow people who don't know my children dictate what's best for them, which again is all of you. Our children have gone almost 2 years disguising their emotions behind a mask. They've been made to hide their smiles from the world and been taught to fear all germs. And don't get me wrong, I know COVID is real. But damn if we miss their smiles and they miss seeing their friends' smiles. Of course, there are ways my children can see their friends' smiles. I can take my children to any restaurant with friends and they can smile at each other there, or Costco, Meijer, Target, or many other public places. Come to think of it, looking at our current health order, COVID must only spread in public schools. My children are 5 and 6 years old, and they know germs are never going away. Whether it be the flu, whooping cough, or COVID, people get sick, kids get sick. And it's glaringly obvious that no amount of universal mask mandates will change that. What's best for my children is not up for debate. I do not co-parent with the government. I am their mother. I know what's best for them. So with all due respect, let me choose.
Hello, I am Haley Ewing, parent from Otsego and founder of Our Children, Our Choice. You vote in your order that absent the implementation of proven preventative measures, increased incidence of school-based transmission are inevitable. According to a CDC report released in September 2020, it shows that masks and face coverings are not effective in preventing the spread of COVID-19. Even for those people who consistently wear them, what exactly are the proven preventative measures? You claim that students will unknowingly transmit the virus to other students as well as household and community members. In a January 28, 2020 press conference, Dr. Fauci said, in all the history of respiratory borne viruses of any type, asymptomatic transmission has never been the driver of outbreaks. The driver of outbreaks is always a symptomatic person. Even if there's a rare asymptomatic person that might transmit, an epidemic is not driven by asymptomatic carriers. What is your source of information that you are using to make your claim of asymptomatic transmission? Furthermore, you mentioned during the board meeting with Benzie County an increase of 300%. We now know your 300% number represented the health department's grant increase of an estimated $600 million. You make a plea for the protection of our children and school staff. You keep referring to yourself as the health officer, yet you do not treat our children with respect. If this truly is your heart's desire, you will unmask the children. They are being harmed by your false science and wallet. Tear off the mandate. Galen Schools came up with a plan which served everyone. Give us our choice back.
Good morning. I've been following this quite intensely for quite a while. You all remember the H1N1 flu pandemic in 2009 under Obama's administration. There were no such things at that time as mask mandates, government shutdowns, craziness about a vaccine. Fast forward to late 2020, late 2019 to early 2020, Fauci tells us masks do not work. They do not prevent the transmission of viral illnesses. Then in March, we have the pandemic is declared, and all of a sudden, the mask works. What happened? The science changed, or they followed a different science? Some facts. The size, already mentioned, of the SARS-CoV-2 virus is 0.1 microns. It takes a high-powered electron microscope to visualize the virus. The pore size of a surgical mask, not a cloth mask. The pore size of a surgical mask is 200 to 1,000 times the size of the virus. So the virus moves back and forth quite easily. Let alone the cloth mask, that's much higher. We know that masks in the operating room, we don't wear them to prevent transmission of viral disease. We wear them to prevent sputum and blood splattering on us. If we touch a mask, we're contaminated, we need to leave. We have UV light and ventilation systems that control viruses in the operating room, not the mask. Greater than 99.9% of school-age children recover from COVID. Kids are more likely to be killed by a lightning bolt, a car crash, as already said many times, than to die from COVID. Do we wear masks to prevent flu transmission on the seasonal flu every year? Not. So why is this all of a sudden effective? Some of the potential consequences of prolonged mask wearing. Masks prevent development of social and emotional intelligence. Basic human-to-human connectivity through face expression is compromised and self-identity is eliminated. We're dehumanizing a whole generation. Right. You dehumanize by forcing them to wear the mask. They can't learn to interpret facial expressions. There's less academic instruction. You're spending all day chasing kids around, make sure they're wearing the mask correctly. Get your mask up, Johnny. You're gonna kill somebody. You're gonna kill somebody. I've heard these things. I've heard these things in stores. I've heard potential consequences of prolonged mask wearing, mask prevent development, less academic instruction, increased CO2, hypercapnia, increased incidence of other diseases, RSV. Let me read a quick table. I need this time. Physiological and psychological effects of wearing masks and their potential in a reputable journal article. Health consequences, increased predisposition for other viral illness. Do you hear that? Increased incidence of other viral illnesses when you wear a mask. Headaches, anxiety, depression, hypertension, cardiovascular disease, cancer, diabetes, Alzheimer's. Premature mortality, meaning suicide. It's sad. We have a dramatic increase in suicides. Suicidal ideation, suicidal attempts, all due to the mask.
I got you, Dr. Brother. So I'm Don Forbes, Charlotte County Peanut, and I've miraculously raised 3 patriot, constitutional men peanuts with my wonderful wife, and I'm here to ask the question, where is your data for proclaiming that it is likely that school-related cases will increase sharply? In an article just published September 2nd, 2021, by state-released surveys of local hospitals, confirms that in northern Michigan, there were 57 adult COVID hospitalizations as of August 30th, but no child COVID hospitalizations. The McLaren Hospital in Petoskey had 9 adults hospitalized with COVID-19 and 49% bed occupancy. Munson Hospital in Charlevoix had 3 adults hospitalized and 64% bed occupancy. To date, there is no evidence in northern Michigan's children of an increase in COVID-19. While we agree with your statement that case investigation and contact tracing are a waste of time, forced masking of innocent children will continue to contribute to RSV syndrome, bacterial lung infections, staph infections, allergic reactions, increased depression, psychological damage, and an increase in suicide. It already has. Not to mention permanent brain damage as a result of oxygen deprivation caused by unnecessary cloth restraint restricting normal breathing. Michigan law 380.1307B of the revised school code of 1976, Act 451 states, the state policy under section 1307A shall include a clear statement of all the following practices that are prohibited for school personnel in the public schools of this state under all circumstances, including emergency situations. Any restraint that negatively impacts breathing is prohibited. Your mask mandate will put a negative strain on the public health system and a negative health impact on our children. And I stand with the 9 other detractors, the DNR must have counted them, and say I'm against your mask mandate.
Hi, Neil Frisky, Charlotte County. Thanks for giving me a couple minutes to present some challenges to you. I'm speaking to point 6 of the health order. During the past year and a half, we have all been required to submit to a mode of life thoroughly unlike any lifestyle that has touched our collective memory. Our society and culture were turned upside down and inside out in order to reduce our community exposure to SARS-CoV-2. In spite of all the efforts to elude this virus, we still saw casualties of COVID-19 in higher numbers than I would have thought probable. After such strenuous efforts in masking, social distancing, and shutdown, I expected a much higher success rate. The results lead me to believe that measures not only were ineffective, they were completely useless. Furthermore, another set of casualties emerged in the aftermath of COVID-19 preventive measures. These casualties were in the ranks of those most vulnerable among our children. While we allowed them to be isolated behind their masks in the name of protecting their health, we subjected their growing bodies to other ailments less easily cured than a virus. Some of the diseases and health detriments induced by face masks are as follows: RSV, asthma, staph infections, allergies, migraines, MIES, cognitive decline, disorientation, lightheadedness, sleep apnea syndrome, eye and sinus infections, anxiety, depression, and suicide. All of these maladies occurred in our school children, and who's responsible for this occurrence? Michigan Health Department and all the school boards who have enforced masking are you. You are responsible for harming the well-being of our children. By mandating masks, you are medically liable for their compromised health. Not only are you liable, but also morally obligated to alleviate the malady. To do otherwise would be discrimination against them. He that knows too good and does it not, to him it is a sin.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the board. Thank you for allowing us to speak today. My name is Tira Morse. I'm here on behalf of the school children and the parents of Harbor Springs, Michigan. I'd like to address the supposed vulnerability of our children to exposure to SARS-CoV-2. I would like to present this data from September 4th, 2021. The case rate for hospitalization of children aged 0 to 17 years infected with SARS-CoV-2 is less than 0.35%. Less than 0.35% for the entire Midwest region of the United States. The rate of infection in children has not significantly increased since October of 2020. Considering this low incidence of COVID cases among children, it would appear more effective to discuss prevention of infection rather than prevention of exposure. In other words, to strengthen the immune system against succumbing to infection is a much more obtainable goal than attempting to avoid exposure altogether. This virus will go about in the air as other virus strains have done for the past thousands of years. To pretend that we can avoid exposure to virus particles is as ridiculous as trying to avoid exposure to oxygen, which we are doing by masking our children. A more effective rate would be to combat this would be to build their natural immunity through vitamins C, D3, zinc, proper nutrition, hydration, sufficient rest. This will enable our children to easily keep the resilience to SARS-CoV-2, as children have a recovery rate of 99.998%. Why try to avoid a virus that is so easily held in check by a healthy immune system? And yet, by force of mandating masks in our schools, our children are being required to bypass their first defense against disease and submit their growing bodies to the risk of disease much more damaging to their health than exposure to a virus. One such damaging effect of mask wearing is MIES, mask-induced exhaustion syndrome. In other words, a lack of oxygen to the brain prevents children from functioning at their full capacity and potential. Any of these potential maladies induced by face masks have just been forces of such mandates to participation of malfeasance against our school children by requiring them to inhibit a natural exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide in their bodies. According to the revised school code of 451 of 1976, anyone who participates in mandating masks on school children is guilty of criminal conduct. Section 1307 of this code states that all of the following practices are prohibited for school personnel in the public schools of this state under all circumstances, including emergency situations. Specifically, the deprivation of basic needs and any restraints that negatively impact our breathing. Please, rescind your order to mask our children. Thank you.
Thank you
for allowing me to speak today. I'm addressing item number 7, which has to deal with social distancing. The Northwest Michigan Health Department has indicated that social distancing of 6 feet is an effective way to curtail the transmission of COVID. It would put the parents' mind at ease if you could provide verifiable study and data that would support this method of self-distancing to prevent the spread of the virus through an indoor space. Without this compelling evidence, it is unreasonable to require students or their parents to follow this mandate. While reading through the health order from August 27th, it becomes apparent that it is written using unverifiable ideas and practices that cannot be applied in a practical setting. Where are the directions for controlling the COVID transmission by social distancing? How many children will fit into the classroom where they must maintain a distance of 6 feet? Who makes these decisions? With this mandate, can teachers give students individualized attention when needed for assignments? How is social distancing effectively going to be applied on school buses, in the bathrooms, the locker rooms, the lunchroom, or how about in the library? With no clear guidance in these areas, it would be left to the school board to make these decisions. If the school board is left to make these decisions based on the health department's recommendations, why aren't they also able to decide what is best for their own schools and their students? This would, of course, allow the parents of the students to have some say in how their own children are to navigate COVID-19. And that is where all medical and health decisions should be left, in the hands of those who love these students the most, the parents. No one should hold the right to override the parental authority of responsibility of hardworking American citizens. If you can convince us with data that social distancing will benefit our children's well-being, we might be persuaded to examine the possibility. But in reality, we all know it's just politics, and we will not be ordered to submit our children nor our tax dollars to this any longer.
You have not, and you are not representing yourself, correct? You have 3 minutes.
Of course. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Start talking.
Name Rich.
Yes, start talking. Go ahead.
I'm Gary Press. So I have 4 children that have attended school in Elk. We didn't send our first 2, our oldest 2, because
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
our children are in elementary schools. They cannot wear masks. I mean, they've tried it in the stores even, and they can't breathe. My youngest boy is 8 years old. He came home with headaches nearly every day when we tried to send him to school. And he got sick off at school, threw up. These kind of things are very disturbing. He just would come home crying. It's obvious that these masks are not doing the job that is being told to us, that it's protecting them from being sick. We feel it's political. It's not. I mean, the facts aren't being shared in a way that's not biased, and we aren't appreciative of that. We just want to be able to have a choice. If someone believes the mask helps, that's fine. If they don't, we shouldn't have to send our children to school or anywhere. It's not healthy. It doesn't prevent anything from getting in or out except spit. And that just stays there on their face all day. They've come home, I've given my kids multiple masks, my 2 littles. They are
soaked, no matter how many I give them. And they've gotten sick anyways too. They've gotten other respiratory viruses. And we have to keep them home longer just to keep, you know, because people are scared. I feel like this has just been a lot of fear for a lot of people. I mean, the people that believe in masks, I understand. That's okay. We understand that there's a lot of information being shared that says they work, but I don't believe they do. I mean, after all the studies that have shown otherwise, we can find answers on both sides no matter what. We expect the health department to do their due diligence, uphold their oath to our state and to our federal constitution, and, you know, find the truth and do their job. I mean, we appreciate all of you. We know this has been really hard, and you guys are all under a lot of stress. We respect that. We respect the choice for all parents. So, you know, we don't want you to feel like your choice to put your child on a mask is not okay. Go ahead, but allow parents to choose. So please rescind the mask order. The timing of it was really suspicious. We want our school boards and our local policies to trump.
Hi, my name is Tricia Spanik, and I live in Charlevoix County. Thank you for allowing me to speak here. I am vice president of our school board, and I wanted to share with you one awesome thing that I love about Michigan, and it is that we have a school of choice. So if you don't like the school that your children are currently going to, you can choose a different school. Right. So what I would like to remind you is that Governor Gretchen Whitmer said that schools had a choice this year. The school boards could decide what their schools were going to do for mask mandates. And that was taken away from the 4 counties that we live in. And if you want your kid to go to school A who has a mask mandate, great, you can take your kid to school A. If you want your kid to go to school B that does not have a mask mandate, great, you can take your kid to that school. We should have a choice as parents, and that choice was taken away from us. As I understand it, the 8 county commissioners who were voted on by the people who live in these 4 counties, on your website here, on the Northwest Michigan Health Department website here, this is what it says. The Board of Health and the Health Department of Northwest Michigan is comprised of 2 members from each of the 4 county boards, so the 8 of you are present here today. These 8 individuals meet on a monthly basis to approve health department programs, budgets, expenditures, to adopt regulations, to learn everything possible about health problems in the community, and to participate in finding solutions for those problems. The Board of Health employs the director and the health officer. And it's my understanding that you went rogue and you made this mandate all on your own and you didn't consult your Board of Commissioners. And we as parents, and we are demanding that this mandate is rescinded. Thank you.
Today I'm greeting on behalf of a friend and a local teacher that cannot be here today. I have asked Teresa Kuznicki to speak on my behalf today because I am beginning my 13th year of teaching. District 10, my school board, and the community that I serve is allowing me to be 100% focused on kids, learning, and building healthy relationships without the distractions and stress caused from the unnecessary prolonged mask wearing. My sons, both Elk Rapids students, will not be so lucky. In a September 3rd public statement issued by District 10 and 9, quote, each school system enters child care setting must determine the best course of action based on local data and case trends, as well as impacts to families and staff, end quote, which reiterate their stance in allowing schools to choose. For the sake of time, I am omitting the play-by-play statistics your own data proves, since so many have already brought attention to them. I urge each parent here to look at the local data provided on the Health Department's website, to ask for school boards about the trends they saw in 2020 that prove almost no student quarantined for close contact tracing ever actually getting sick. This includes one of my own students who missed over, I think she was sons, but her own students who missed over 83 days of in-person learning due to shutdowns and 3 extended quarantines. I urge you too to consider that laws and IEPs were created to ensure that all students' needs are met while in the classroom. Teachers and school districts are held legally responsible to meet these needs, not the health department. Are you prepared to be the cause of many students not getting what they need? Needs that prove very real inside my classroom daily. What accommodations will you make for physical, mental, and emotional distress? Would you settle for a mediocre educational experience for your children if there was something blocking their ability to be 100% engaged in learning? I urge you to consider the data proof in fabrics that nothing short of a vacuum bag filter proved helpful. Even the health department screening for close contact tracing discounts mask wearing. Quarantines are granted to those with face-to-face contact of 15 minutes, 6 feet, and with or without a mask. How do I speak to this with such confidence? A group I co-founded called Seamstresses for Safety, which served under the guidance and ICU doctor on Munson's COVID floor, who were running out of PPE. Our goal was to try to replicate the N95. Our nearly 15,000 masks were denied and thrown away for being ineffective in most locations. You are making a decision for children that are not yours to decide for. You are not using common sense with local data you yourself have collected, nor weighing out the other side of the risks our children have by lack of interaction, increased mental illness, and even physical reactions. Lastly, you have neglected to bring to light the trends of our community. You neglected to bring to light the trends of our communities and schools are reporting, and the facts related to the ineffectiveness of masks. Please allow me to make the decisions that are right for my boys. Please allow each parent here to have the choice to do what is right for their children as well. Monica Melba.
Cynthia Baydoun. I'm sorry if I get your names wrong. Baydoun.
Hello. There's a lot to say, but I'm just going to get to a point here. Long story in a short period of time. My son, Zechariah, at 15, December 9th, had a seizure, had brain surgery on February 5th. Survived. Move forward, March 19th. My husband was brought to the emergency room in McLaren. He has two pancreatic aneurysms and almost died. He has a very rare disease we found out. It's arterial neurosity syndrome. Only 8 families in the entire United States have this. He survived. Move forward. We are now at 8 of my family members. 25 days ago, all had COVID. We survived. Woo-hoo! My son has his right frontal lobe was removed completely. He has a titanium plate in his head. He's 16 now. He started this again today. He is a year behind because of brain surgery, COVID. Knocked him behind a year now. He can't graduate with his class. This mask mandate, we've survived everything. God has given us the ability, and we have that ability to fight off every disease. Okay, God gave us that inalienable right. God gave us those rights. God gave us those blessings to do this. We don't need people telling us what's right for our children or how it is we need to conduct ourselves with our children. He knows better than everyone in this room. We have to go by His guidance, not man's guidance. Amen. He created us, okay? You guys do not have the right to push these mandates on us or our families. I don't come into your home and tell you how to raise your children or how to conduct yourself. Don't come in my home and subject that to my family. Thank you.
Honorable members of the board and the peanut gallery, all of us standing together as identified by the lovely attorney for the health department. The bottom line that I ask that you see in this, as a parent, as a student advisory committee at St. Francis Xavier, as a healthcare professional, have I seen COVID deaths? Yes. Have I treated COVID deaths? Yes. Have I had to intubate people because they were at the point of no return? Absolutely. But what I've also seen is that children are not ill from this. Your face covering masks, your policy. You have children out there with open mesh masks that are doing nothing. You yourselves have admitted that this is droplet transmission. The bottom line is choice. Look at the shirts. Every elected official that has spoken today, from school board members, advisories, physicians, we all know that these masks, these face coverings at this point, will do nothing. And all we're asking for is a choice. That's the bottom line. I am required to wear a mask for my gainful employment to continue doing the things that I wish to, and I will continue to do so. We all have mask fatigue. I've witnessed it at the table. People are here by choice. The bottom line is choice. That's all they want. Let the school boards make the decision. Let them make the decision for their children.
My name is Connie Saltonstall. I went to school in Charlevoix. I was a teacher at Charlevoix Elementary. I served on the Charlevoix Board of Education. I was a Charlevoix County Commissioner, and as a Commissioner, I served on this Board of Health. Sure. During my tenure, this health department was sued for enacting regulations to protect workers from being exposed to smoke in the workplace. The Court of Appeals upheld this right, and the case was settled. This health department has the legal right to mandate masks in our schools to protect students, teachers, staff from the COVID virus, which is much more transmissible than the original virus. Dr. Meyerson made this decision after more than a 400% rise in cases. Munson Healthcare supports masking. They took out an ad. The medical doctors support Dr. Meyerson. Everyone wants students to be back in school safely. Students under the age of 12 can't get vaccinated. Their only protection is masking and social distancing.
Natural immunity.
If there is an outbreak, fewer students will be in school, or schools may have to be closed. This could possibly create a loss of some school funding. Sports events and other activities may be canceled. School boards will establish their policies with the support of the health department. Children and adults can die from COVID. A former school secretary died just last week. This health department has the responsibility to protect public health. And with COVID, that can be the difference between being able to attend school and even life and death. Masks are a part of that protection. If you vote to rescind the mask mandate and bad things happen, it's your responsibility. You would be guilty of interfering with public health. And for those of you who believe your freedom and constitutional rights are being infringed upon, you do not have the freedom to endanger others. Thank you.
You take your mask off the phone so our kids can't do that in class. How much did you took it off the top and our kids can't. You were given
It's our choice, our children.
Excuse me, you were given the opportunity to speak. Whatever side you may choose or land on, that's your choice. But you have the responsibility to allow others to speak on the opposite side of what you may choose. So in an effort to let everybody have that opportunity and conduct business, and in order not to suspend this meeting, which I don't think everybody that attended today really wants to go home without having that opportunity, let's respect those individuals who did come and prepared and spent their time as well as you did. Thank you.
Well, let the truth be spoken.
The next person, Gilbert Nora. Gilbert Nora.
Oh, can I talk again? I can finish.
There we go.
Get up there.
Get up there, Gilbert. Oh, let's hear it, Gilbert.
I just wanted to, sure, I'll talk. Bye.
No, I'm sorry, point of order, sir, everyone gets 3 minutes, and I apologize that you signed up twice, and I did call your name.
You apologize, something I did. Thank you for apologizing for me. All right.
Joseph Pinto. Joseph Pinto.
Joseph.
You got it?
Hello, my name is Joseph Pinto. I'm a parent of a 4th grade student, East Jordan Elementary School. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak today. A lot of my thunder has already been stolen, but so I'll keep it brief. I am here today in support of the commissioners who are against this mask mandate. I toiled with how to argue my point, and I'm not going to get into arguing tribal science and data. I'm not a physician. I can't speak from any authority, but I can speak from my personal experience. And I've been a paramedic in the state of Michigan for just over 20 years, and I'm in and out of the ERs all over northern Michigan. And I work 48 hours a week, and I don't transport school-age children for COVID. It's not happening. I've seen the horrible death and dying that occurs with the older population. I don't have enough fingers to count how many people I've worked on that unfortunately aren't with us anymore because of COVID. It definitely affects a lot of people, but I have not seen, again, not speaking from authority, speaking from personal, what I see every day at work. There aren't kids in the back of my truck that are dying from COVID. They're not in the ERs when I'm walking through them every day. I think that I'm going to argue that this is about power. This is about power. This is about a few government bureaucrats that have assigned a necessity and a utility to this mandate, and they come up with that somehow with their all these physicians here who sign onto this thing, who I'm sure, all due respect, are sitting at their country clubs and with self-righteous indignation at the thought of us who possibly endangered the children having had anything other than having this mask mandate in place, and assuming the moral high ground that I can't assume. I mean, how many children's lives are we willing to risk on the altar of freedom? I don't know what that number is. We all have a different number. The people or persons who enacted this, their number might be 1. If 1 kid is going to die of this, over the course of X amount of time, then this mandate is morally justified, and we can take everyone's rights and just whack them up and down and have the mandate. I'm not aware, I can't argue, the Michigan Code of Law. I tried to look through the 2016 bench book for, judges when they're trying to, as it applies to the health department, and read through all those cases and precedents, and I kind of got lost in it. It just doesn't feel right that unilateral action like this should be made by such a few amount of people that flies in the face of our governor's position, how much I don't like our governor. I don't mind her position at this time, against our school board elected officials, and seemingly so, in absence of the full support of their board. So I would just like to see this mask mandate rescinded, and I'd love to be able to make a personal choice for my son going forward. And I don't know how many commissioners out there support this or don't. I mean, Facebook isn't a way to come up with ideas. Okay, so if all the commissioners are supporting Ms. Peacock's and whoever's Dr. Marston's decision, they don't have any recourse, I guess. But commissioners, you won't hear from at least me at election time. I'll know where all of you are.
Charlevoix County.
Jeff P.
Jeff P.
He has been pretty persistent.
Okay, we're going to move on. Michelle Nora.
Good afternoon. Well, I guess it is good morning. Thank you. And thank you for the privilege and the opportunity to address this meeting today.
I hear you.
Each of the county commissioners on this board have taken an oath to uphold the Constitution.
Right.
And I'd like to remind everyone of one important concept. And I quote, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, and among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and that to secure these rights, governments, which is you, county commissioners, you are the government, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed.
Right.
From the consent of the governed is how you rule. You took that oath. I took that oath myself. I know exactly what it means. At this point, it appears you do not have the consent of the governed. And I implore you, please remember your oaths to uphold our Constitution. Thank you.
Davidson from Charlevoix. I practiced wearing a mask in my office for actually 43 years. So I'm living proof that you can survive wearing a mask. We are involved in a real serious health problem in the United States. We've had almost 650,000 people die. And the way we can combat that has been proposed by our health
health agencies and people that are familiar with how to treat the COVID virus that keeps morphing into something that's even more dangerous than it started out. I grew up as a second grader. I suffered polio. This was back in 1952. It was before the polio virus was found to have a vaccine. After I was hospitalized for about 4 months and couldn't walk, I was treated in the hospital and survived and was able to walk normally afterwards. But at that time, 1953, the Salk vaccine came out, and people in the United States, almost everyone was vaccinated. Every child was vaccinated in the United States. And today, polio is almost unheard of in the United States. It's also almost unheard of in the world. So I think it's a case of if we can all work together and all be vaccinated and all wear masks, have social distancing while this is occurring, we can solve a lot of problems. But we're not going to be able to do it by individuals sort of trying to buck the system. And anyway, I would ask people in the audience, how many people are in favor of wearing masks?
Choice is our choice. That's what we want is a choice. You can wear your mask. You wear your mask, but you took it off to speak. Our kids can't take it off to speak in school. They're running around the gym with it on.
Can we ask you a question?
He
Let's
asked
ask you a question. Do you understand the mechanism of the vaccine? Do you understand how it hijacks this situation? I know.
You take your mask off.
You were asking us questions.
You see that I asked you this
question.
We're all sharing the same oxygen right
Do
now.
you understand the mechanism of the mRNA virus vaccine, how it works? It's not a traditional vaccine. It's dangerous. Let's have one.
So a combination, excuse me. So a combination
It's already been 3 minutes.
Go ahead, let him finish. Us peanuts will quiet down.
Please take a moment to listen to this after I'll say. Don't put your mask on the podium again. Just let him speak. Everybody be quiet for 2 minutes. And I'll be real.
We'll let him speak at 6 minutes.
He asked us a question.
You made a concluding statement because there was interruption to your time. Go ahead, sir. He asked a question.
Well, my concluding statement would be that you should think long and hard about sending your child to school with a mask, because the chances of them becoming sick are slim, okay? But the chances of you becoming sick are great.
Our children are responsible for us. Pat Fralick.
Keep Lowell up.
My name's Pat Fralick, and I'm a resident of Emmett County. I'm a grandmother to 3 children who are too young to be vaccinated, and I'm a friend to individuals who are immunocompromised and at great risk of this virus. And in the interest of time, I will make my comments very brief. The work of public health in trying to combat this virus in our community, to protect the health of our community, is a huge responsibility. And I applaud the Board of Health and the Health Department staff who have taken this on. So thank you very much.
Nancy Ferguson. Nancy Ferguson. She expects Ferguson.
still say good morning since it's 11:59. I know that it's been a long morning. I'm Audrey Lefgarten. I'm the mom of a 5th and an 8th grade child, a resident of Hennepin County, a lawyer, and a small business owner. First, I want to say thank you to the health department and also to the Board of Health for their tireless work over the last year and a half to address this pandemic. I think we can all agree that it's been a very, very trying time. The health department's work has been based on, and is currently based on, overwhelming guidance from the CDC, the American Academy of Pediatrics, and locally, as other speakers have mentioned, Munson and also McLaren. I can give you anecdotal stories as a parent of 2 young children. I can tell you my views or beliefs on that. I can do online research. But I think that it makes more sense to rely on our public health experts to tell us what we should do. Rather than parents, teachers, even the school board. They're experts on many different things, but I don't think that they pretend to be experts on public health. I ask that the board kindly allow the health officer and the medical director to do the jobs they were hired to do based on their public health and medical expertise. I also ask that the board follow the Michigan Public Health Code. The code does not allow the board to reverse health officers' orders. The code does not allow the board to terminate the health officer for declining to rescind the order. That would likely be wrongful termination. In fact, the health officer may even be liable if she were to rescind the order based on public or political pressure rather than public health conditions, such as the capacity of our local hospitals, the transmission rates, and other public health and medical evidence. Thank you very much for your time and also for taking public comment. I know no matter which side of this you're on, this is not an easy process for anyone. So I appreciate it.
Larry Sullivan. Larry Sullivan.
Thanks, Madam Chairman. I'm a former member of the Board of Health. I've served on it for 2 years. I've also served as president of the parochial school board for a number of years. Just want to make a few comments. Number one, COVID-19 has been with us for much longer than any of us would have liked. I think we've got the opportunity, hopefully, to nip it in the bud in the next 6 months to a year, but the virus experience are a very rapidly changing target. It's moving quick. When we get another variant comes out, we don't know what's going to happen. But I do have total respect and faith in the Board of Health staff, and that these are medical professionals, that they are researching, studying, and devoting tremendous amounts of time to the issue of the COVID-19. I do not believe the school boards, having been a former school board member, have that time or knowledge or expertise to spend the time and the effort to research those topics. These are medical topics. I would not come to the Board of Health and ask for which social studies curriculum should be taught in my local school. Nor would I go to the school board and ask them for medical advice. If I were to have a major health issue, such as a heart attack, and the ambulance came and picked me up and asked me, you have a choice. We can take you to a school board meeting, or we can take you to a Board of Health meeting. Where would you prefer to go? So, the Board of Health has the doctors and the nurses and other medical professionals. The school boards do not have it. The school boards do not have the time to spend the massive amounts of time that's necessary to research the best means of handling the COVID-19. And that is going to change as new variants become available. Again, I have total respect for the Board of Health, and I have total respect for their staff. Thank you very much.
Stephanie Jacobson. Stephanie Jacobson.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Jacobson. I'm a parent from Otsego County, and I'm going to take a slightly different tact, although I do support giving the power to the elected officials via the Board of Health and the local school boards to make decisions on behalf. We're still a republic, last time I checked. I've actually been to a lot of board meetings, and Commissioner Powers and Calorito will attest to this, calling for an investigation into the health department's bungling of COVID-19. You know, we made them honored Burgermeisters of Alpenfest, and we said, oh, this is so great. But from the get-go, this hasn't made any sense. We shut down the state based on job and not risk of COVID. So the 22-year-old mechanic who goes to the gym 5 days a week and is in excellent health is at home, while the 7-year-old Walmart greeter had to go to work. We knew the risk. We knew the affected populations. The death statistics show that, you know, the average person dying of COVID has 3 to 4 comorbidities. They're of a certain age. And of course, there's always outliers. But that's how data works. We denied that the lockdowns had any other sort of consequences, deadly consequences. People's lives were destroyed. They don't have work. They can't eat. I think it was the World Health Organization estimated 1 million people were going to die of poverty due to lockdown policies. So don't their lives matter too? There's mental consequences. The police were just in a county board meeting saying that drug abuse has skyrocketed in our county. And we just ignored all of that for this one virus. There's no science behind any of this. I can show you a graph of Australia and Michigan and Ohio, and you can't tell me when the mask mandates went into place. What place was locked down and when they locked down? It's a virus, and viruses got a virus, and they do what they do. We focused on cases and not deaths with a bogus test right from the get-go, and we continue to do that. We're denying people life-saving treatments like ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine. For God's sakes, these things have been around since World War II in the case of hydroxychloroquine. It's given to a whole continent to prevent malaria. Ivermectin's the same. It is used as a prophylactic. It was given to prevent, river blindness in Africa? And yet, we have physicians and health organizations telling people that you should not be able to take these drugs under a doctor's care. And I don't know what you call that. I don't know what it is that's driving these decisions. Finally, we put COVID in the nursing homes among the most vulnerable, and no one has answered for that policy. In fact, and they talk about vaccines, but they never do that. And finally, they party. The health director of Michigan told us all to stay home for Easter break and then hightailed it down to Orange Beach. They go to Lollapalooza. They get that all while telling us that we're infecting people and we're the problem. That's wrong. You need to investigate these. Just walk the No one ever has trouble hearing me.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Kilgore from Emmett County. I have 3 kids. 2 go to private school now. I have 1 left in the public school system. And I asked her how she felt today for her first day of junior year with her own car. And she said she felt defeated. Last week she was in a volleyball tournament, packed with no mask on. This week she's getting yelled at to pull her mask up during gameplay. My middle child has a speech impediment and was forced to wear a mask at public school, and he felt very bullied, not by the kids, but by the teachers, because they teach them fake news and scare the crap out of them. It is time to stop scaring the children.
Thank you.
It's about submission. Parents' choice would have been unification of the community. All mask or all no mask is division. We need to come together as a community. It needs to be parents' choice. God instilled children to their parents. It's not up to the government to make the kids do anything.
Right.
Afternoon. My name is Zarina Koch. I live at 303 State Street in Charlotte County. I'm also a member of the Boyd City School Board. I'm the treasurer, so I've sat in your seats. I understand what you are going through right now. I do appreciate your effort. School board initially in 2020 looked to the health department because we have always looked to the health department for guidance. Whether it was a flu outbreak in the schools, whether it was other mandates, whether it was virtual doctors, we've always looked to the health department because we do not have that education. We are social workers, we are lawyers, we are business people, we are elected officials. Nobody elected us on our microbiology background. When 2020 occurred, we immediately looked to the health department. And they proved to be a good partner, making sure that we had the information, that we had the mandates, and we had the ability to make sure that the school moved forward. Fast forward, June 2021, we again looked to the health department and affirmed it as a group to say, this is the way we are following. The health department in turn would prove to be a flexible partner. When the parents, rightly so, struggled with the quarantines, exposure after exposure, the health department said, okay, tell you what, we can reduce that time. This is the safe amount. We reduced it, and it worked. July 2021, again, we looked to the health department as we move forward in a new school year, sadly, in COVID again. We already had mandated K through 6, actually pre-K through 6 masks. Why? They cannot be vaccinated. The first job of the school.
The vaccine doesn't work.
The first job of the school is safety. The second job of the school is education. We had already mandated this. We wanted to make it pre-K through 12. There was no mandate. Just like you making a big decision. You're responsible. You know that the buck stops with you. We looked to the health department. The health department finally did make the mandate. This was after a 400% increase in our county. This is not the job of school. We are responsible for education, and we look to our community partners to help us make those decisions. This is a common sense approach to keep our schools open. All we want to do is keep the children educated and keep the schools open and protect everybody from the risks. That's why we did this. Giving the board's local control. Thank
I have a couple of questions. All of you know what gaslighting is. I'm asking them, do they know what gaslighting is?
Right.
You know what gaslighting is?
We do not respond to questions.
Oh, you don't?
You can
Okay.
pose a question,
But just in case you don't know what gaslighting is, it's when someone tells you a lie so many times that you believe it's true.
Right.
Now, you all know what placebo is. That's what you're wearing on your face, a placebo, and there's nothing wrong with that. Placebo technology, just the fact that people can go and feel good and not be afraid, induces better healing within the DNA structure. Anybody that is worth their salt knows about these studies. Now, there's another opposite to placebo, it's called nocebo. When you gaslight people and tell them a lie over and over again, they will get the symptoms to the disease maybe not the disease, but they look at the symptoms similarly. To any of you that have friends that came up in nursing training, quite often they'll get the disease, they don't really get it, but they get all the symptoms. Right here is an indictment. You all know what an indictment is. I'm not a lawyer, but I do have some good friends that schooled me through this, including the elder sheriff present. He assured me that we have some of the finest judges in the country. He told me where to go, so I went there and I got the information, and this is good information for all of us. Lisa, in this indictment, you are named as a criminal against humanity. There's nothing personal here. The question is controlled. The CDC is an NGO. It has no power whatsoever except for the fear that we give it to Dr. Fossey, who is a bioengineer. Come on! Yeah! Bioengineer, you know what that is? There is a Dr. David Martin that has an entire case that the Justice Department will not touch. He's had it since 1990, and Fossey has been bioengineering this flu cold AB variant, to call it COVID-19, which the CDC has a patent on. They hold the patent. This is bioengineering. This is a bioweapon. Now, you folks that took the vaccine, you're going to need us. You're going to need us, and probably sooner than you think. If you took the real vaccine, that is full of all kinds of stuff, including a spike protein, which triggers your immune system, so you won't get the symptoms, but you still have the disease, and you become a greater carrier of the disease through shedding. Now, this is science. You should be a scientist, and you should know this. And if you don't, then educate yourself before it's too late.
Amen.
Quit watching.
Yeah.
See you again.
Charging request.
Time.
All of you have the right to sign this charging request.
Absolutely.
Someone else may want this chair.
Hey, you first outside, boy. Yes. Dan?
Thank you.
I'm Larry Correll, I'm the retired transportation director for Gaylord. You can mention that. If you have to enforce masking on your bus to create an unsafe condition, you should not be watching for that, you should be watching for it.
That's right.
I don't know that kind of thing, and I won't do it again. I hope you know that. Some brief comments. My understanding is that true science thrives when it is subjected to challenge and debate. I did some market research last night for you. I visited 3 pharmacies and $1 store. Other than the blue disposable masks, the only things that are available are the designer ones clearly labeled not for medical use. In fact, there were not enough masks available at Gaylord to supply all the students in Otsego County. One store even had their stock on sale at 50 cents. I bought a mask for the price of a nickel. That's what the market thinks of the mask. My observation is that your current mandate accomplished nothing more than create the appearance of having done something. Allow me to share the email that I sent yesterday to all members of the board. Unless you all can tell me you read it, some of you read it, good. Most of you did not. I wish to remind you that America was birthed in reaction to a tyrant who sought to limit our forefathers' ability to think for themselves, congregate with who they wished, go where they decided to travel. Don't use love and technology.
Mask on it.
Basically, they were violating civil rights, personal rights. They were demanding that the American people harbor their agents, pay for their upkeep, and surrender their personal effects of their bodies to government intrusion. I think that is wrong. I'm here to tell you that the citizens of this country will not subject themselves to unconstitutional takeover. Those of you who are elected to office, if you do not defend your people, expect to get challenged and replaced. If you are a hireling hiding behind those people, expect to never see a job in public service ever. Amen. I will endeavor to see that these names are noted for those who defend the people, and I will help them make the changes necessary. I think I've missed a few things I was going to say, but I will not bother you to wait while I find my notes. I think you get the gist of where I'm coming from.
Jeff Weaver.
Good morning. My name is Jeff Weaver, and I'm here on behalf of the Gaylord Community Schools Board of Education, which I'm the president of. Gaylord Community Schools work diligently on an emergency plan, taking into consideration not only the safety of our students and staff as our primary focus, but also the concerns and fears shared by many staff members and parents on both sides, mask versus no mask. We created a plan widely accepted and to the extent possible without jeopardizing safety, met our community where they were at, and we shared the plan with you. And it is our value and our belief that the local health department and Gaylord Community Schools share a commitment and responsibility to protect the health and safety of our students. Despite our individual beliefs, Gaylord Community Schools, as a unified entity, has always recognized your authority to issue orders and collaborate with the health department to achieve the outcome. Gaylord Community Schools has had a history of partnership, trust, respect, and collaboration with you and the entire local public health department, and no fair reason exists to cause that act in such you to act in such a unilateral manner in the issue of ordering the mask order. It is important to understand that the Gaylord Community Schools Board of Education considers your actions in issuing mask order on Friday evening after business hours, in advance of school openings, and after acceptance of our emergency operation plan as disrespectful and inconsiderate.
That's right.
Yeah.
And has resulted in a level of distrust between our respective entities, as well as created an unnecessary turmoil and upset for and between our families and community. You issued the order last minute, leaving Gaylord Community Schools to deal with the fallout, and you have not once since extended a hand to assist in the concerns or discussion potential of alternates. Gaylord Community Schools, by the way of this letter, is also requesting a meeting to discuss the potential for modifying certain provisions within your order and to reconsider implementation of Gaylord Community Schools emergency plan. Please advise as your availability for a meeting. Thank you.
Gary Mackey.
M-A-K-I.
Is it Terry or Carrie?
Carrie, K-A-R-I. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Carrie Mackey. I am an educator at many schools in Charter ISD and a mother of three elementary students. I am here tonight in support of the universal masking order in schools, and I'd like to share for you how grateful my family is to Ms. Peacock and Dr. Meyerson. They are the true heroes who are looking out for the greater good of people in our community. As ambassadors for public health, they make decisions every day that protect all people. The young, the old, the healthy, the weak.
those who are vaccinated against this nasty virus, and those who either have chosen not to be or are unable to be vaccinated. You see, this pandemic is about far more than our rights as American citizens. It's about far more than politics. This pandemic is about a virus that has and continues to kill many people. The universal masking order of my Health Department of Northwest Michigan is allowing my husband and I to send our 3 elementary-age children to school, knowing that as many mitigation measures as possible are in place for their safety. In turn, this creates an additional line of defense for my husband, who is immunocompromised and unfortunately medically unable to be vaccinated. Do you know that there are people in our community who would like to be vaccinated and are unable? Do you know that there are cancer patients whose treatments don't allow their bodies to gain the antibodies necessary to protect them against COVID-19? It is our job to care for these individuals who are more susceptible to this ugly virus. My husband can choose to attend a store or a crowded environment, but my children must be in school every day. And my children can also carry this virus home to my husband. They spend 7 hours of their day at school around many other children who come from a variety of other situations. Universal masking is a line of defense that my husband's life depends on. I realize that until you know about people like my husband in our community, it is very easy to see healthy individuals around us and think that our children wearing masks at school should be the choice of each parent. But when we stop to think about the health of our entire population, the public health, the least we can do is send our children to school with masks each day and wear them ourselves. Thank you, Ms. Peacock and Dr. Meyerson, for knowing, seeing, and caring about public health. Thank you for watching out for all members of our society and making a really hard decision, even if it wouldn't be popular. Board of Health, I hope that you can be so bold and you can be so strong as to support these leaders as they help to protect our children, their families, and our communities through universal masking in schools. My prayer is that my children will grow bold alongside their fathers.
Tony Shorkey.
How you doing? Tony Sharkey. I'm a veteran of 22 years of experience serving this country and protecting our American ideals. I have a master's degree. I have specialized training in risk management, statistical analysis, human behavioral modeling. More importantly, as an intelligence officer, I conducted daily threat assessments for frontline troops. I get what you're about. Together, I have as much experience saving lives as the board. But as valuable as input as I have provided through the course of the years, I was never a commander. Matter of fact, they never make intelligence officers commanders, just like they never make lawyers, they never make doctors, and they never make any of the other experts commanders. There's a reason for that in the military, and it's because they understand there's all kinds of factors that weigh into how we do things, and no expert has all the experience and background to weigh all the factors and make these decisions. The bottom line is my role, like your role, is to provide recommendations and information. I read the school notice that you sent on a Friday afternoon, and I took great offense because it said one of your objectives was to maintain face-to-face contact with the schools. Frankly, that's none of your business. That's not what your job is. Your job
is to look at medical issues and provide recommendations. I ask you to rescind your order and let the school boards, who are taking all those expertise and understand all the implications that all the different constraints have on the kids educating, getting any kind of lessons, and let them do their job. Refocus your efforts on your limited role to provide recommendations. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Richard Spring. I'm a resident of Charlevoix. I'm here today to applaud the decision by the Health Department of Northern Michigan to impose the mask mandate in the schools. This isn't an individual health issue. This is a public health issue. Their job is to protect the public health of all citizens of these counties in Northern Michigan. I hope that you make a decision that is in keeping with your obligation to ensure that all people in Charlevoix are adequately protected. Thank you.
Yeah, stay home. Yeah, stay home.
Amanda Coughlin. Stay home, sir. Amanda Coughlin. What's coming? Right here.
Can you hear me okay? Okay. We are in an age of information, which is amazing, 2021. There are stats, there are numbers, there are publications, there's the internet, there are a lot of things. And sometimes when I hear people come up and say, we're not experts, we don't know, this is the job for the government, sometimes it gets a little irritating because we are informed, you're not as informed as you guys. I know that. You do have expertise that I do not have. However, when I live in a community and I am in my community and I witness and I can see and then I can go online and see stats, I really hope that you take into consideration that we are not stupid. Michigan.gov website lists all of the stats. I'm sorry, my name's Amanda. I live in Charlotte. Actually, I don't live in Charlotte anymore. I live in Petoskey, and I love this community. And I realize that the virus is sorry, I'm like a little, I've been listening for 2.5 hours. Okay. I realize it's bad in a lot of places, and I realize there is a time and place for the government to stand up and make mandates, and that there are places in this country right now that are that do have a serious bed problem in hospitals and medical personnel shortage, and I do realize that. And however, that's not our community right now. And this virus has been going on for 18 months now, and there has been shutdown, and it has been proven in our community that we're blessed. Okay, I'm sorry, I should focus. We are Region 7. There are 174 ICU beds. That's just ICU beds. Right now, and as I track in the last several weeks, there has been in the mid-20s of those ICU beds occupied on a daily basis. Sometimes it's 24, sometimes it's 28, sometimes it's 25. And the time that I started tracking this, 0 children have been hospitalized with COVID. 3 weeks ago, I don't know what the stats are now, 3 weeks ago,
all COVID deaths, out of all COVID deaths, 0.03 were children. 0.03 were children. Why are we assuming all of these extra risks of wearing a mask that are germ infested, that end up on the ground, that kids touch non-day, staph infections, that have witnessed staph infections? Why are we forcing these masks on our kids when our kids are not at risk? Time. It's time. I gotta go. Lisa. She's good.
Not present. Joseph Fisher.
Hi. My name is Joe Fisher, and I live in Elk Rapids. I am a 40-year member of the Traverse Bay Area Intermediate School District. I'm a veteran, and I had polio too. First, I want to thank Ms. Peacock, Dr. Meyerson, for what I consider to be a heroic effort on your part. Back 18 months ago or so, the administrators at the ISD became aware of who the Grand Traverse County Health Department was. And because our ISD extends over 5 counties, we also became acquainted with the health departments of Benzie, Leelanau, and Northwest Michigan. And I can tell you, those of you that live in the 4 counties that are served, we're fortunate to have people of the caliber of Dr. Meyerson and Ms. Peacock. What I've seen here today is borderline shameful for sure. But let me talk about, first of all, the masking. I hate them. I hate them with a passion like everybody in this room does. Nobody wants to wear one. Over the weekend, I checked with my 7 grandkids, all of whom are in their teen years, and they all said they're in the Chicago area and out east, that they wear it without any fanfare. You get used to it. And each of the classes at one of the schools is about 1,000 students in the senior class, junior class, sophomore class. So about 3,000 students in the one high school, and he said there were 2 COVID cases in the first week. 2, and you can do the math. Nobody likes the mask, but you know, the school board members that have been up here and the lawyer that was up here made several good points. First of all, at the ISD, and every board member of any local constituent district should first be concerned about the safety of the students. And the second thing they should be concerned about is the education. So you go about the business of trying to combine those 2 things so that you make sure you keep kids in seats. I heard about suicide from one of the speakers here. The only suicide rate I'm familiar with is the one that took place because kids were not in seats, not because they are in seats. The legal framework is, I think, goes like this. The statutory cite that you see in the order from Lisa Peacock takes away from you as a board the opportunity to overrule her. I don't think you get to do that. Let me talk about your letter that you wrote to her, using words, inflammatory words like assault, authoritarian edict, revoke the rights. You know what you should have done? You should have said, we have disagreements, Director Peacock. Let's try to work through them. But no, what do? You stir it up, and you've accomplished absolutely nothing other than the loud mouths that I have behind me. And that's what you stipulated.
Look at another step.
Robert, these are your kids in. Shar Roberts.
is Charlene Roberts. I'm from East Jordan. My son goes to Ellsworth Community School. And I'm not so sure masking is a good idea because my son is 15 years old and up till last year he was very healthy. Last year was his sickest year in his whole life. He was, he's had severe allergies, you know, dust mites and what you call it, ragweed for about 5 years. And then last year with wearing the masks, he couldn't, and they had restrictions where you couldn't get up from your class, you couldn't get up from your seat, and you were distanced from people, and you couldn't take care of your nasal congestion very good, and you couldn't change masks. You didn't know that you were supposed to change masks. I was reading on the back of the mask box the other day, and it says as soon as you take it off, you throw it away, and you replace it. As soon as you touch your face, you take it off and replace it. And all the masks seem to be made in China. And whenever I wear a mask, my face gets real itchy, but I'm not so sure what's in the mask, or on the mask. But to go on with my story, during baseball season in the spring, he continued to get sicker. He missed a lot of practice. He would run and then throw up, run and then throw up. By the time school was out, he had a severe lymph node infection on the side of his neck, which was seen by Charlottesville Emergency Hospital, emergency room, and then the next day was taken to McLaren and Tosky there for observation because there was a ear, nose, and throat doctor there that was going to be there all weekend for the for his stay, and she wanted to look at him and see what they could do. They were unable to get any biopsies because of the texture of the thing, and they threw every antibiotic they could at him. From there, he went to DeVos Children's Hospital on a Sunday afternoon. By Sunday night, he's had such a low blood pressure that they were very concerned with him, and he went to the ICU immediately. Puking all the way up there, which he hadn't eaten anything he wasn't long already done. Well, anyway, I'm just not so sure that the masking is good, and vaccines have aborted fetal cell lines in them. So.
Good morning. My name is Sarah Gopinski. I am a mother of 5 kids that have either graduated or in schools in Otsego County. I'm also a school board member. I was just elected last fall and learning a whole lot. You know, teaching me all sorts of stuff. So I've only been on the board about 9 months, but it's been a crazy 9 months for my first 9 months. I would like to read what I've written to you. I would first like to thank you for allowing me a moment to address you. I truly appreciate the privilege I have to address a governmental entity without retribution. I've been to countries, I have dear, dear friends in countries who do not have this right. So, thank you for letting me be here. I believe that's what has brought us all here today. I do not want to address the masks today. Masks are not the issue at hand for our schools and children. The issue at hand is local control. The core thing that has brought us all together is the founding principles of our country. The United States of America was founded on the principle that we, the people, know what is best for us individually, and when you trust the people to govern themselves with a moral compass, they will do what is right. Yes, we have laws in place when people's moral compasses get skewed, so people are not murdering, stealing, and such. We need some laws for when people turn away from the moral compass and the country was founded on. But this mandate is not such a time. At no time in the 9 months I have been on the board, or I believe even before that, the other community school board ever insinuated that they were not willing to work with you. Not once. At no time have we said we will not comply up to this moment. We have never said that. We have not done anything. We have done everything you've asked us to do to work with you. Our staff spent countless hours doing their job, doing your job of contact tracing, calling parents and students, telling them they had to quarantine. Many of them, my children included, several times. My kids lost months, weeks and weeks of school to quarantine. And I was okay with that because I was following your mandate. We did this job to help you to enforce your job. I cannot speak for any other school district because I don't know what any other school district did. But there is no reason for you to believe that if the time came that masking was absolutely necessary, Gaylord Community School Board would not have enforced it and backed you up. This new order completely ruined any trust and working together arrangements that we had for me personally. I am not speaking of anybody else on the school board. Jeff was here to read that paper, the letter that we wrote to you. I do not represent the Gaylord School Board as a whole. However, for me personally, and I'm on the board for another 5 years, I have a 5-year term, the fact that you sent this order out on a Friday night, 45 minutes before the kickoff of the first football game of the year, everybody's at the football game, you just ruined our first football game on purpose. Time. You have not offered at least if you want us to do this. Thank you. Thank you.
My name is Jessica. I represent a Harbor Springs Ram and an upcoming Ramlet. It was 18 months old, and my son, we get loud and we get crying because we're passionate. And we're passionate because my son is a rainbow baby. If you don't know what a rainbow baby is, I went through several pregnancies and losses before he was ever here. I spent days praying over him in the womb. So every moment of his life, 7 years, 10 months, and 14 days to this date, I have looked out for his well-being. I have tried to nourish him with food and exercise, and also the extra supplements that we know help against this. I can only do my part from home, but when I am not given the choice to do my part and send him off to the school, that's unfortunate. My issue in this is that I was given less than a week with Labor Day weekend in the middle of it to prepare for my son's schooling. My school did its necessary due diligence, sent out surveys, asked the parents, and got input. Harbor Springs is by choice, and they stand with their parents, and I applaud that. I applaud every parent who is here, regardless of whether they want masks or they don't want masks. I respect that opinion, but I expect it to be respected back. My issue also is that not only did this mandate come out at an extreme late hour, it was certainly disrespectful and not just suspicious. It's disgusting mismanagement of authority, and it's really, it's upsetting. It's upsetting, and whoever just signed that really should be removed. Yes. I have a husband who has type 1 diabetes and arthritis, 2 of the things that put him in a high-risk category. My son also has type 1 diabetes and is in a high-risk category, but that's my choice. That is his choice. I have informed him of all of the facts, not opinions. You're all entitled to opinions. You are not entitled to your own facts. And the facts and the data back up people making their own decisions. I still live in America, and I have freedom of choice. As long as people are fighting my shoulders, men and women who put their lives on the line to respect my right. Now, I can't tell you enough how much it speaks that the communities are here, and if you just take a poll of how many people are here are in support of masks or not of masks without having some uprising, you will see that the majority is not in favor of masks. And this is not speaking for the parents who are sitting here in poverty, who can't make their bills, that still have to take their kids to school, because guess what? There's also some things that are going on without them having the mask on their face. They're getting bullied right now, and that's what that mandate did. It caused all these communities to be in turmoil, and that's not right.
Dr. Andrea Wendling, and I'm speaking on behalf of the Boyne area physicians. Besides myself, that's my husband, Dr. Mike Parmalee, who is also the medical examiner for the county, Dr. Lauren Wise, and Dr. Mark Antinisha. We've been physicians in the Boyne community for almost 20 years now. I also have a list of 19 Charlotte area hospital physicians who also want to register their support of the Northwest Michigan Health Department, which honestly represents just about our entire medical staff, I believe. I also realize that in this room we're in the minority, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak. This has been a hard year. I know it's been a hard year for everybody, but the part I want to express is that it's been a hard year for healthcare professionals. And the Northwest Michigan Public Health Department has been a supportive and reliable partner for us through this time. As physicians, we depend on the public health department in the same way that you depend on us as primary care physicians. We call them for advice, and during this pandemic, we have called them a lot. We have called them on nights and on weekends. They've been responsive and helpful. They vaccinated our entire community when we would not have had the ability to do that. During the pandemic, it's their job to watch the trends and to guide us and our health systems in what we need to do, and we trust them. We know as well as anyone that this pandemic has become a political nightmare. Everyone has an opinion as to when to mask, whether to vaccinate, and how far away to stand. But the people who are specialists in pandemics are our public health professionals, and ours have done a tremendous job of keeping our community out of trouble. We don't have the hospital resources, or the workforce, or the ventilators that we would need to care for the people in our community if we were to truly have an outbreak. Our best option is to play defense really well, and to do the things as a community that we need to do to prevent ourselves from getting sick. The Northwest Michigan Department of Public Health has done a good job weathering this pandemic for our community, and we want to put our full confidence behind them. We trust them to make these decisions on our behalf. They have been good partners for our clinics and for our hospitals, and we are putting our full support behind them as they make these difficult public health decisions. Thank you.
Savannah Marco.
Hi everyone, my name is Savannah Rinko. I wasn't really planning on speaking today, but I'm a nurse and I have 3 children under the age of 8. Let me first start by saying that everyone who's come to this podium and removed their mask, in my opinion, has lost much credibility because they don't handle it correctly. Coming from a nurse, I feel compelled as a mother and a nurse to stand here before you today and advocate for our children. Your mask mandates prey on our youngest, least vulnerable, and most precious population. These children and much of our community members are not trained in storage, limitations, and integrity of these masks. Even me personally, as a healthcare professional, I have to be fit tested to wear an N95 mask at my employer. I myself have failed this fit test multiple times. You also have to have a health history you have to be approved to not have some of the underlying conditions to wear an N95 mask. For me, myself, for my protection, I have to wear a PAPR. For those of you who don't know what a PAPR is, it's a respirator that goes over your head that kind of makes you look like an alien. That is the only way I can get protection in my field of nursing. Therefore, you cannot compare studies on masks for children who are wearing cloth masks. These studies are not, we're not doing studies on hospital PPEs, we're talking about cloth masks. These masks are soiled, sucked on, chewed on, and God bless the mom and dads who are trying to just keep their children alive and cannot guarantee they don't run out and catch the bus with a clean one every day. Our bodies exhale to get rid of toxins and bacteria which is collected in the masks of our kids' faces. These dark, moist, and warm areas between the mask and our children's mouth is the perfect breeding ground for bacteria. Bacteria that will be reintroduced into their little bodies. Besides all the parental concerns of how masks harm children, there are two main arguments why masks should not be required for anybody. One, they don't work. Two, they aren't needed for kids. They don't work. We have a century's worth of studies showing masks don't work. The first study came out after the Spanish flu in 1917, during which mask mandates were first used. The conclusion then, as now, was that masks did nothing to stem infections. Most relevant to COVID in the Danish study, in March of 2021 paper, which was labeled Effectiveness of Adding a Mask Recommendation to Other Public Health Measures to Prevent COVID Infections in Danish Mask Wearers. In this, annuals of internal medicine and others, some 6,000 Danes were split into two groups, one without masks and one with masks. Not just masks, but the best masks, with the training and their sustainability. If it became moist, they changed it, which kids do not do. You are breeding fear in our children. You are teaching them that they cannot breathe air, be next to one another. So time for us parents to start standing up.
My name is James Cassidy. I'm a property taxpayer in Emmett County, and I have two children in the high school. And I'm here today basically to not argue about the efficacy of a mask, social distancing, vaccines. I'm here to talk about representation. And when one member who runs the health department of Northwestern Michigan, forgive me if I've got the title incorrect, but I think most people here will understand the essence of my message, acts at 5:30 on a Friday afternoon, that smells. I've been here 3 hours, and you've allowed about 3 minutes for people to speak, which uncommon core math would suggest about 60 people had a chance to speak here today. Of those 60 or so, only 7 agreed with this 5:30 Friday afternoon mandate. That should tell any leader who has the authority to rescind her own mandate that people don't feel like they were represented. That's right. And if you don't know that, and be honest with yourself, be honest with us, you should suggest rescinding that mandate right now. Letting our 4-county, 2 commissioners who represent us electedly to do so take the matter up in advisory capacity, vote on it so that they can have 5 members stand and say, this is what we're doing, this is what our constituents believe, 67 of them, that they believe that they want for them. Forget the notion that you disrespected the representation we have in our local communities of Emmett, and the
high schools, the Board of Education in Harbor Springs and Pellston and other communities that have said, we got this, we're gonna do what the governor said, and that's to let the local jurisdictions handle this.
Yeah. Correct.
There's just so many reasons this, from a good leadership standpoint, should be quelled right now, reversed, and put back in the hands of the people.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of words thrown around here today, and I'm not a health expert or a statistician, but you know, they say, oh, you're not an expert. People like attorneys who show up in a courtroom every day are definitely qualified experts in their practice. In fact, I can't write a contract for you and you to sign because I don't have that legal qualification expertise. But half of them are wrong every day in the courtroom. Half of the experts are wrong every day. Whether it's a tennis court or a classroom, I'm not making any, or a courtroom, I'm not making any judgment on anybody. I'm just saying, to rely on something like that is just fool's play. I think at this point, you need to rescind this order, let this board vote on it, and board, those who I've called, I thank you for returning my call. The rest of you, I imagine you don't answer calls anymore. But about 7 of 60 say this is a bad call.
Everyone has been speaking about statistics applied to the general population. I would like to comment and voice my concern for the well-being of our children with chronic diseases. There are currently, according to recent census data, approximately 4,820 children aged under 18 in Charlotte County. It is estimated that 25% of all children in the United States suffer from one form or another of a chronic disease. This number seems high, but that is due to the prevalence of asthma, of which I suffer myself, and in spite of it, I wear a mask so I can protect my daughter who has a different chronic disease. She has type 1 diabetes. So if we extrapolate that 25% to Charlotte County, we have approximately 1,000 children in the schools in Charlotte County with some form of chronic disease. Other chronic diseases like cystic fibrosis, congenital heart disease, as well as type 1 diabetes and others. As concerns type 1 diabetes, there are estimated to be about 14 children in the county when extrapolating from national statistics. My daughter, who has type 1 diabetes, is under 12 and cannot be vaccinated. She wants to go to school in person, just as other children who also suffer from chronic diseases would like to do. She doesn't want to be seen as different. If everyone is wearing masks, she has no problem wearing one. But if her classmates are removing theirs, she will want to remove hers.